Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to streamline your knowledge by going straight into the sources. And today, wow, we've got a really mind-bending journey ahead. It spans centuries, ancient mysticism, modern biochemistry. It's quite a mix.
It really is. We're looking at source materials that propose this. Well, this radical, unified theory of everything. The core idea isn't just that, spiritual laws influence the physical world. It's that they are the blueprint, literally encoded into the universe's structure, right down to the atom.
Okay, so our mission today is connecting that mystical side, Torah, Kabbalah, with chemistry and physics fundamentals. We're kind of hunting for these precise numerical connections, these symmetries that suggest, well, divine mathematics built the universe.
Exactly. And we really have to start with the core idea from the Holy Shell of Rabbi Isaiah Halevi Horowitz. This was back in the 17th century. He presents this, what you might call a paradox reversal. It flips the usual thinking.
Okay, tell us about that reversal. Because normally you read an old text, you see a mountain or a building or whatever, and you assume it's a metaphor, right? A physical thing hinting at something deeper, spiritual. Physical first, then spiritual.
Precisely. But the Shilal turns that completely on its head. He argues the Torah is purely spiritual, and the spiritual energy it describes, that's what gives us hints, specific clues in the physical world around us. So the spiritual reality is primary. It's the leverage. The physical stuff, that's just the evidence of that leverage at work.
Interesting. So if the Torah is the spiritual blueprint, what are the drafting tools, the foundational numbers God uses?
Yeah, it all kicks off with the number 4. This stands for God's essential ineffable name, the 4 Hebrew letters, Yud, He, Vav, He. And these letters, they're not just sounds. They represent the 4, let's say, original building blocks of creation, the essential forms.
The power of 4. So fundamental. It's kind of comforting, actually, that something so vast starts with something structurally quite simple.
And you see it reflected in practice right away. Our sources point straight to the holiday of Sukkot, when someone performs the mitzvah, the commandment, of shaking the 4 species, the lulav, hadaz, arava, etrog. That physical action is understood as directly representing those 4 letters of God's name. It grounds that ultimate spiritual identity in something you can touch and do.
4 is the core building block. Got it. Now let's jump to another key number you mentioned, 20. Where does that fit in?
20 is the crown, Kizer. God begins the whole creation process with Kizer, and Kizer is often represented by 20. It signifies the absolute highest, most transcendent level, the source.
Why 20 specifically? Is there something inherently numerical about it in the sources?
Yeah, there are a couple of really powerful reasons given. First, the Hebrew word Kizer itself, its first letter, Kav, has a numerical value of 20, but maybe even more profound. The letter Yud, that's the most potent letter of God's 4-letter name. When you write Yud out fully in Hebrew, Yud Vav Daled, the total numerical value is 20.
Ah, okay. So 20 isn't arbitrary. It's deeply linked to both the concept of the crown and the very first letter of the divine name. It's the ultimate creative energy.
The ultimate divine channel, yes. And interestingly, the physical world, according to these sources, has constraints based on this. Look at Sukkot again. The sources are clear. A sukkah, that temporary booth people build, it's not kosher, not valid, if it's taller than 20 emet, or cubits.
Okay, wait, let's clarify cubit for listeners. We're talking about an ancient measurement, right?
Right, an amino. It's roughly elbow to fingertip.
Yeah.
Maybe 18 to 24 inches, depending on who you ask historically. So 20 cubits is what? Around 30, maybe 40 feet max.
And the reason for that height limit is because the energy inside the sukkah needs to align with Kizer, the crown, number 20. Going taller would be like trying to tap into a spiritual level the structure can't handle. It would break the connection.
That's exactly the idea presented. You disrupt the intended alignment with that ultimate divine nature. It's a very real spiritual constraint on a physical design.
Wow. Okay, so 4 is the essence. 20 is the source or crown. But creation needs managing, right? That brings us to 6.
Yes, the number 6. This comes from the sefirot, the 10 channels of divine energy or flow. The sources say there are 10 in total, but only 6 are really involved in, let's say, running the world.
10 channels overall, but the top ones are 2, transcendent.
That's a good way to put it. The top 3, Kizer, Choshma, Bina, crown, wisdom, understanding, are generally seen as above the direct creation of the physical world. They set the stage, maybe.
But they don't get their hands dirty, so to speak.
Exactly. The sources specify that the tools for actually managing, directing, creating everything in the world. Those are the bottom 6 sefirot. These represent qualities like chesed, loving kindness, gevura, strength, tiferet, beauty, harmony, netzach, endurance, Hod, glory, and Yesod, foundation. And Melchit, kingship, is often included in the active set. They're the active managerial energies. So our spiritual toolkit is shaping up. 4 for essence, 20 for the ultimate source, and 6 for the active management.
Right. Now, we shift gears a bit. We have these numbers, 4, 6, 20. But how does this divine energy actually get expressed? How does the blueprint become, well, reality?
That's where the number 22 enters the picture. All that creative energy, all existence basically, is channeled through the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Their shapes, their sounds, their numerical values. God literally created the world using words formed from these 22 letters. They are the language of creation itself, both spiritual and physical.
So the complete spiritual toolkit, 4, 6, 20, and 22. Essence, management, source, and the language or tools. And what's really striking, as you mentioned, is how this ancient framework seems to resonate with some very modern ideas in physics, this idea that reality is math.
Yes, this is the bridge. It connects this deep, centuries-old wisdom to someone like the theoretical physicist Max Tegmark. Tegmark has this hypothesis that the physical universe isn't just described by mathematics, like we use equations to figure it out, but that the universe fundamentally is a mathematical structure.
That's a huge leap. Math isn't just the map, it's the territory itself.
If he's right, then everything, physics laws, particles, forces, it's all just an expression of some underlying mathematical objects. And what these sources we're exploring argue is they identified those foundational numbers centuries ago, 4, 6, 20, and 22. So it sets up our big question. If the universe is math, do its physical building blocks reflect this specific spiritual math?
Okay, perfect setup. Let's dive in and test that theory. We're moving from the spiritual matrix 4, 6, 20, 22 to the chemical one, the basic components of life.
Right. And for that, we need to talk about proteins. They're fundamental. Proteins are like the body's workhorses. They do everything: carry oxygen, build your muscles, speed up chemical reactions. It's just crucial.
Right, massive molecules, right.
Huge and complex, yes. But they're all built from smaller units strung together. Think of them like beads on a necklace. Those individual beads are called amino acids.
Amino acids, okay. And this is where we expect to see those mystical numbers 20 and 22 pop up in biology.
Exactly. And the alignment is, well, it's pretty stunning. Humans, and basically almost all known life, use a standard set of 20 canonical amino acids. These are the primary essential building blocks for making virtually all proteins.
20 standard ones. That number 20, it lines up directly with Kaiser, the crown energy we talked about, the highest spiritual source.
The correspondence is precise. The highest spiritual channel, 20, matches the standard set of physical building blocks used by almost all life.
That's incredible. 20 essential standard ones. But wait, the spiritual toolkit, the alphabet, had 22 letters? If 20 connects to Kaiser, the ultimate source, why did creation need those extra 2? Does the source material explain why the alphabet needed those, like exceptions?
That's a really sharp question. The sources seem to emphasize that while 20 is the standard, linked to Kaiser, the total potential of reality is reflected in the full set. That potential mirrors the 22 letters of the alphabet. And guess what? In all of nature, scientists have found 22 different types of amino acids that life actually incorporates into proteins.
22 total. Okay, so 20 is the main blueprint, but 22 represents the complete set of tools available in the cosmic workshop.
That's a great way to put it, the full toolkit. The extra 2 are called selenocysteine, that's the 21st, and pyrrolysine, the 22nd. And selenocysteine is actually used by humans and lots of other organisms, though it needs special machinery to be put into proteins. Pyrrolysine is rarer, used by some microbes like archaea, but the point is, the full 22-letter potential is physically present and used across the spectrum of life.
The match is exact. 20 standard, 22 total. That's really something. Okay, now let's zoom in even further. What allows these chains of 20 or 22 amino acids to even form? That brings us to carbon, right? And the numbers 6 and 4.
Carbon. Absolutely essential. It's the backbone of all organic life as we know it. Remember we talked about the 6 bottom sefirot being the active managerial principles of creation. Now look at the carbon atom itself. How many protons does it have in its nucleus?
6.
6 protons. That makes it element number 6 on the periodic table.
6 protons, mirroring the 6 active world-managing sefirot.
Wow. And that number, that identity as element 6, is what gives carbon its unique properties, making it the indispensable ingredient for life's complex structures.
Okay, and the last piece of the spiritual puzzle was 4, the 4 letters of God's name, the 4 original building blocks. How does carbon connect to 4?
Through its structure, its bonding capability. Carbon atoms are what chemists call tetravalent. That means they have 4 valence electrons. which means they have 4 spots, 4 potential bonds where they can link up with other atoms.
4 connection points. And that ability to make 4 bonds is crucial, isn't it?
It's the absolute game changer. It allows carbon to form 4 strong, stable bonds. But they're also flexible enough to create long chains, intricate rings, complex structures. This forms the literal backbone for all those amino acids, the 20 standard, the 22 total, and the proteins and enzymes they build.
So we've closed the loop. Let me try to summarize this. We see carbon, element number 6, like the 6 managing sefirot. It forms 4 bonds, like the 4 letters building blocks. And that ability lets it build the chains needed for the 20 standard amino acids, like Kizu, and the 22 total amino acids found in nature, like the 22 letters.
That's the synthesis, yes. And the argument from the sources is that this symmetry isn't coincidence. It means the rules you find in the Torah, the commandments, they aren't just arbitrary divine decrees. They're like an instruction manual for interacting correctly with the deep structure of reality itself. Reality fundamentally built on this mathematics, 4, 6, 20, 22.
That really is the aha moment here, the perfect symmetry between that proposed spiritual matrix and the physical chemical matrix we actually observe. You are, quite literally, made of divine geometry.
And knowing this, according to the sources, has real application. Remember the Shellow's point. The spiritual leverage comes first, and our physical actions can align with it.
Right, let's bring it back to that sukkah example for a final thought. The source material argues that when you participate in sukkah, sitting in that sukkah, specifically, the 4 walls build no higher than 20 cubits. You're doing something physically significant.
You're engaging in an act of physical alignment. By respecting those specific constraints, 4 walls linking to the 4-letter name, the 20-cubit height limit linking to Kaiser, you are essentially tuning the physical space.
Yeah.
You're creating a structure designed to perfectly channel that crown energy, the ultimate divine source.
So the building itself becomes a focusing lens for that creative energy, aiming for a blessed year.
That's the profound takeaway. The physical world gives us these powerful hints, allowing us to grasp the spiritual matrix that shaped it. And this idea, connecting a simple temporary structure, 4 walls, under 20 cubits, to the ultimate spiritual math, the cosmos, it's something really deep to think about further. Maybe the next time you encounter a physical rule or constraint, ask yourself, is this just a limitation? Or is it perhaps a pathway to align with the very essence of reality?